Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Kimball here, and it's time for an epic Beyblade X theory discussion video. So this is probably the last one I'll probably do for now until like episode 125 gets subbed. Still waiting on that to get subbed. Probably Kimball will drop more. I don't know. That's just normally just how it goes with things. Normally a new episode drops, Kimball reacts to it. Bunch of theory videos, so I mean, when I basically just said it, it'll happen, But for now, this will be the last one, and this is gonna be talking about one specific character, man. This is a theory video I wanted to make for some time. It's been on the plans, and finally now doing it. And it's gonna be about a certain blader that everyone sleeps on, and everyone just, he hasn't lost. He hasn't won a single battle yet. He won rounds, but hasn't won a single official match yet. And that being Bird or Robin KAZAMI, I guess the ultimate underdog, I guess we'll call it. But yeah, man. But if you guys don't want any spoilers, guys, I'll give you guys 5 seconds to click away off the video. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Give it 1. So yeah. But now talking about Robin. So if you guys don't know who Bird or Robin KAZAMI is, he's a protagonist character from Beyblade X. So, he originally was from a small town, traveled to, then traveled to the X, went to X City, meeting like bladers like Kurosu X, Jackson Cross, the 10th, the 10th sibling, Jackson, and then Multi, and then them getting together and stuff, building a bond with Persona, creating Persona, going up the X Tower, going up the different floors of the Slash Tower, and the top of the Slash Tower being Chrome, and the top of the Solace Tower is, Zodiac. Them going up the tower and everything's like an historical, everything's history after that, them going up the towers and stuff. And then basically you talk about what I basically just said about Pendragon Zodiac about the tower, like one's at the top, which is Pendragon, and the other tower, you got Zodiac. So basically like them being like the top teams of that, but overall, like the top of that is like Persona, you know what I mean? Because like Persona, because the Pendragon won against the battle against Persona, and even just tying the bow on things, even if you will, with it, because it's not the same Pendragon, it's not the same version of Pendragon that they faced before, like Zodiac, they've got the win over Zodiac. They became the champions of the X Tower in a whole, you know what I mean? So, but they're still being at the top, and then that's where things leads into season, I guess if you will, with things. So after they lost, with things, and it shows. So I mean, the protagonist leveled with things. You talk about bladers like protagonists throughout history. I'll go through this quickly. Plastic Gen, so Plastic Gen being Tyson, Metal, Jenga, after 3 seasons, he's the main role of things. And then after like 7 years after Nemesis Crisis, you got Zero, which I mean, it's funny because like they did this Easter egg, I guess, like this quote that Quinn said about facing off against the legendary bladers. Like she mentioned like the 10, so she only lost to 10 bladers, that being like the legends, like the different seasons, which I thought that was cool. That little Easter egg, of like, like acknowledging like all of like the legendary bladers throughout Beyblade history. So you talk about Tyson, Jenga, but she didn't mention Zero, which I mean, like, and even Zero from Zero G, and you look at Bird, kind of like the similar appeal with things, if you will. Like, even like, everyone hated on Zero after Jenga was not the main role, because a lot of the characters, they got older and stuff, you know, 7 years, literally, like, motherfucking 7 years after the Nemesis Crisis. So, I mean, they all passed out and stuff, and I mean, Jenga was like that protagonist, I guess, mainly like that man, like the underbeat role, you know what I mean? Like that legendary protagonist, kind of like how Quinn is, but you know, but just never got undefeated. Y'all know what I'm talking about, you know? Because Jenga was like that role when Zero G, because like Zero, you know, Jenga gave Zero Samurai Ifrit, and then kind of like inspired him to like, you know, be a blader, you know, type shit. So, you know, that's dope. And then, like, because Jenga was like that man to beat, if you will. He was undefeatable, you know. But basically, you talk about Zero, and you talk about Burst. So you talk about what? You talk about Vault being a part of things. They hyped up Vault in a major way with the last few seasons, like, you know, Burst, Beyblade God, Evolution, they hyped him up in a major way, because he was kind of like a underdog, if you will, but hyping him up in a major way in season 2. So you talk about Beyblade Burst, Evolution, or God, you know, you talk about the World League and the God Bladers Cup, you know, hyping up Vault in a major way by facing off against these stronger teams and stuff. And you talk about major bladers like Kurt, Boa, you know, Free, talk about Shu, even Vault being Shu at the end of it and becoming champion, which it was so dope. And that leading into things with season 3 of Turbo, or Chozi, or Super Said, you know, Chozetsu. You know, Chozetsu, you know, Chozetsu. Leading into things with Iger coming in with things. Iger getting inspired by Vault, you know, because even them bumping into each other, you know, after when, you know, Vault dropped God Valkyrie and then they ran into each other, you know, because Vault was looking for Iger's father so he could make the winning Valkyrie, and then Iger got inspired by that in a major way, and then he created his own bag, and then going after, like, I guess, the Batum Academy to kind of like take that, like, kind of like in Vault's place of like trying to become that world champion. So basically he does that by beating Vault at the end with it, and then you go with, like, you know, GT, like, dude, with the Deco chip, dude. Oh, dude. You're just going down the history of this. My heart. But, you know, you talk about GT, you got Drum, you know, the whole build-up with Victories, and, you know, the whole build-up with Arthur and Gwen, the whole story with Delta was dope. And then, at the end of it, you see the protagonists, they having, like, a triple threat 3-way battle, which kind of sad that they never, like, showed who won with that, but still, that's sick that they faced it off like that. And then you got, like, what? Then you got Super King or Surge or, like, Sparking, where you got Hyuga and Hikaru, you know, like the Hisashi brothers. You talk about the Legend Festival, you know, like battling off the different legends, so, you know, like Louis, Shu, Vault, Free, you know, etc. And then you talk about Dynamite Battle or Quad Drive with Bell. I kind of forgot what the hell they hyped up Bell. I mean, Bell was that new kid on the block, like, I mean, facing off against players like Louis, Free, Shu, you know. But, you know, Bell was that one of them. Bell was a sick. I like how they hyped up Bell, you know. But Bell was, like, kind of in the realm of kind of like Hyuga and Hikaru, just facing off against the legends, if you will. And then you got Quad Drive or Quad Drive, which props to Hasbro for giving us a season 7. You know, we had 7 seasons in Burst. And we had 6 originally under Japan, but, you know, the American version, you know, they gave us 7. And major prompts with Quadra or Pre, which I consider her as a protagonist. You know, even though that she lost against Vault, but I still, like, she's a dope fucking character. And the fact that they had Hasbro exclusive bays in the actual show, like, for truth be told, I wish that they've kept up with the balance that they've done now with Beyblade. That's kind of how it was for Burst, but it went downhill, you know, cutting off the weight, cutting off the metal with things, and that's honestly what led up to Kimbo making the plus system and making my own, BU plus series and, double BU plus, and making my own Pandora prototype. But giving her flowers in a major fucking way, you already know. So that's basically like a synopsis summary of like all the protagonists. So yeah, so with Beyblade X, there's so you got your Kurosu X, Jackson Cross, which he's mainly like the undefeated. He's been undefeated, which I would probably say the only blader that really got through to him was Chrome. You even got your there's even like, and this is why I love X, because there's protagonists, there's like different levels of protagonists, if you will, with things. So you got your Bay Crafter, multi with things. It's so fucking dope. You got 5 also being a Bay Crafter, 9 being a Bay Crafter. There's so much, man. So many different protagonists, if you will, with things. And then you basically got Bird being the underdog out of all this, people underestimating this man and, not giving him his flowers in a major way. And this is what the fuck I want. The big time theory is the underdog shit. Here we go. So now getting into things with this, let me see. Because honestly, like, the backstory with like these characters, like we've seen the backstory with Multi, we've seen the backstory with Bird, but we haven't seen the backstory with X. We've seen it a little bit with season 2, but not fully, But yeah, with things. So which is gonna be a matter of time before they show X's backstory in a major way with things. But this is where the point that shit hits the fan in a major way. So you talk about Bird, in a hometown, small town, journey to the X Tower, you talk about literally like at the end of season 1, you talk about Persona versus Pendragon, and that was a close fight, man. That was a close battle, for granted it was so close that, Shiera pulled off the win, but it was really, really, really close. So the fact, paying homage, man, giving this man his fucking flowers, dude. Because he barely won the battle against Shiera, but it was close. And then that leading into things with season 2. So he drew with that. And then he did it again with Lance in season 2. The first time that they battled, Lance let Bird win because, he let him win, he let him win on purpose, but that wasn't really his true power, you know what I mean? So Lance did it on purpose, but he wasn't showing his true power, if that makes sense. So Bird won by default because he let him win. So, and then you talk about Bird having a training arc, kind of how Multi did, but winning on that side of getting stronger, helping out, getting the parts from Persona, but still wasn't enough at the end because Bird got the draw at the end with Mizu. And even these characters are acknowledging Bird in a major way. You talk about Mizu, motherfucking Chrome, and even Tenka in a recent episode because he drawed with Tenka. He draw it with Tenka with things, and all the characters, even Mizu and Chrome, respectfully, he respectfully acknowledged him, and that's not normal. We don't see this every day. Chrome barely even acknowledged himself. So the fact that he sat there after the battle with X and acknowledged him, what the fuck, dude? You already fucking know. You already know. Chrome barely even acknowledged himself, and the fact that he did that, that's wild. But, which we don't really see that, and the fact that he did that, it shows that everyone sees Bird, like, he's getting strong, and it's fucking insane. Even, like, with the recent episode with, like, Tanka, you know, how he draw with Tanka was dope. But the 99% of things is basically, you know, because at this stage right now that we're at in the show, they're going up the True X Tower, you know, and I hope they, you know, because they're obviously going to be at the, like you talk about the 20, 40, 60, 80. They're going to be on these floors, but they're going to be in the tower. And like I mentioned before, this is going to come back to like a theory that I made about the Kurosu clan reunion, about maybe seeing like 3, 4, 5, and 8 and counting in through them, you know. And I hope they have a redemption arc, like I mentioned before, you know, because they're all dope kids and they definitely can't be left out with it. Like, I mean, we see 3, 4, 5, and 8. They're basically done with things. Like, they got discarded by Zero, which is, it fucks me up every time. This man fucking treats his kids. It's just not good. It's a red fucking flag, dude. But, you know, and even, like, 9 is still not a part of things. Like, it shows, like, 9 was in his web. You know, this is why I said before, 9 can still be a part of his plans for the future. You know what I mean? But that 99% out of the 1 is Persona. But they still got to deal with, like, Persona still got to deal with, like, Pendragon and Zodiac. You know what I mean? Because, like, you know, because, like, he still got to get through them, you know what I mean? Because they're the 1%. Now, with this recent battle, because they send out 1 first, which I'm like, what the fuck? Is this man truly the 1 if you're sending out the 1? But he did it just to play with the bladers and shit. And I kind of see why he did this, because there was a certain character that showed up and battled the 1, that being Quinn, and oh my fucking god. This man fucking won. He just, boom, he just, kabow, and just, he wrecked him. Like, he wrecked Quinn. And then that made where things, because Quinn was also a part of the 1%. Don't get it twisted. Quinn was also part of the 1%. But she never battled in Arc 3. So, you know, motherfucking 1. He sent out 1 first. Because, you know, Zero's like this fortune teller predictor, so you know Quinn was going to be a part of this. Quinn's showing up, and then he's sending out 1. Like, holy shit. And just, you know, so Quinn's done. And then now they got to go through 1. And, like, I mean, Persona's not going to, like, Persona, you know damn well they're not going to lose. You know, because they have to win to go up this tower. You know what I mean? They got to get past 1 to go up these towers and face 2, 6, and 7. You know what I mean? But the 1% out of all of this, because, like, I mean, if you're trying to hype up 1 in a major way, he has to face these bladers. Now, like, you know, his power, like, we haven't even seen the true power of 1. You know what I mean? Like, we're starting to see it a little bit, but not to where the point it gotten that crazy, you know? Like, he still has to face off against fucking Chrome, like Omega. Like, it even shown in the first half of Arc 3, it shows that the main focus of that battle, the build-up between Chrome and X, that Starry Night battle, the chaos, a lot of shit happened. To where the point hyping up that battle, but, you know, that was the main focus, but also that side request battle of 1 versus Omega that happened, but, you know, Omega played 1 at the end of the day because she didn't want 1 to go after, to interrupt the fear of the battle between 1 and X, you know what I mean? But, you know, but they definitely hinted at it in a major way with this. And there's definitely some dream battles that gotta happen during this, man. Like, even they're bringing in Zodiac, the Shuiboshi's school, you know, Tanka with things like, you know, because, like, they're still not out of, there's still effect of Zero's plans. They're still not out of it, you know, like, Zero's still gotta deal with, like, Pendragon and Zodiac, because they're the 99% out of the 1, you know, they're 99% out of 1, and it's like they're saying that the 1% out of the 99% is Persona, but they still got to get through like Pendragon and Zodiac. You know what I mean? But with this, it's gonna be where it's gonna be to where the point that it gets crazy. Now, what if the big time thing is like I guess like these players like 2, 6, and 7, they're gonna eventually go. They're gonna it's gonna get to that point where they're gonna start eventually going down. You know what I mean? Like as of right now, I don't think they're gonna lose like in a major way. It's gonna probably be that thing like how 3, 4, 5, and 8 kind of had. You know, but it's gonna be the point where like, because they don't know nothing about their bays, you know what I mean? So they're going completely blind with these battles. But eventually it's gonna be like that where they're gonna start losing. 2, 6, and 7 is gonna start losing, and then it's truly the one that's left out of all of this, and that's where I'm fucking nervous, because if they're hyping up 1 to be the ultimate strongest, then the type shit where like going back to the question of like, is 1 making them think that he's the strongest out of like the whole entire time? You already know that X was the strongest because he's undefeated. This man had barely even lost the battle. This man's undefeated. Like the only player that even got past X is Chrome, I would even say with things, but still, you know, like did this man Zero just gave X away because he didn't saw the true power when they were all kids or something? Because this man did arrangements when they were all kids, like give this man they gave the kids an injection, and you know, like to make them like this, you know, or make them go on road and stuff. And that's why we see even 1, like even 1 has that devious smile, you know, kind of how X is, because you know, like I feel like all the kids are like that, you know, like when they were younger, like Zero put them through like some arrangement, like some Dr. Ziggurat type shit, where like when they were all kids, like Zero gave this injection and type shit, you know, like this is why they had them all like together, you know, like they had their mask, you know, the Roman numeral mask, you know, like 1 through 9 with the numbers and stuff. But we all know it's X because, you know, it's his 10th sibling, and he just doesn't want to admit it, and what the fuck, but, you know, but yeah, but, yeah, I'm lost, but, you know, but the thing about that is basically the whole build-up, because once it be like that, 1's gonna start facing off against Omega, 1's gonna face off with Chrome. It's gonna be like that where like he's gonna get past these players. Like I mean, a lot of players not gonna get past 1, like I said before with other theory videos. But what if 1 gets past Chrome, and maybe that triggers X in a major way with things? Because X, he looks up to Chrome in a major way, because they were once teammates. So maybe that triggers when one defeats Chrome. Maybe that's the point where like X is like, all right, because his main focus is gonna be the 1, and then that's when he's gonna come after 1, and that's when shit hits the fan, and I'm nervous, y'all. I'm nervous, and you talk about the power of 1, you know, 1's power going rogue. You talk about X going rogue with things. Because even with the battle against Chrome, even Chrome seen it. Like, even Chrome was like, this is not the same X. This is not the same X that I know. Like, type shit. Like, this is not the same X that I battled. You know what I said this perfectly. But just trying to waste any time, because I just said it. But it's like, you see his power going rogue, the same thing for 1. And if they battle, like, holy shit, and, like, their power gonna go like rogue, and then they can't control it anymore to where the point like, okay, like their power is gonna go max. They're gonna go to the extreme maximum power with things, and that's where shit gets crazy. And maybe all along this is Zero's plan of like getting after 1, because I mean X, you know what I mean? Because you know, like X, you know, because Zero is still like he's after X, like, you know, he's fascinated with X, like I said before, with other theories, but you know, because he sees it 1, but you know, he's going after X, I guess. I don't know, I said it before, but it's a thing about this, and it gets to the point where it's gonna be like that, where they're gonna have the battle, and, you know, X, their power going full maximum power to where the point they can't take it anymore. And one of them is going to have to get by dumb. You know, it's literally, you know, to try to see who's the strongest. Either one's the strongest or X is the strongest, because X is undefeated and they're hyping up one to be the strongest. That's definitely the battle that they're going to have. And I'm fucking nervous, man, because one's also on that path of, like, he's starting to show his power, but not really, you know what I mean? And that's what I mean, when his power goes full out crazy, that's where the point I'm nervous. Same thing for X. So many theories I'm nervous for. But it gets to where the point they battle. X managed to take down one, and that's where shit hits the fan, where Zero comes out and gets after X or some shit, brainwashes this man, and literally go down to the dark side, if you will, things. But this is the next question, is who's gonna stop this man X? Who's gonna stop him? There's one possible candidate out of 99% out of the one that Zero can't predict, is Bird. I think Bird is the 1% that Zero can't predict, y'all. Now, the reason why. Now, with the battle against Burn versus Bird. When Burn went to the True X Tower, got kidnapped and shit, that whole build up, Bird was the one that stepped up and battled Burn. Now, I think Zero wasn't expecting Burn to get the draw over the battle. You know, he wasn't expecting Burn to get a draw over Bird. You know, because I think Zero wasn't expecting that. I think Zero was expecting Bird to just whoop Bird's ass. You know what I mean? So, you know, even him, like, because, like, he got frustrated after that. And, like, you know, because, like, the whole connection of, like, X and Bird, you know, that friendship, you know what I mean? You know, him looking after X, you know, things. But that 1% you can't predict is Bird. Because even, like, he got frustrated so much. Even, like, the end of this arc 1 of season 3, we see him flick the screen, you know, at Bird. You know, basically, get the fuck out of my way. Because he can't predict the fucking one. It's the 1% he can't predict. It's Bird, Robin, KAZAMI. Everyone's favorite character to fucking plays. Every favorite character, I don't know. But it's basically Bird. Basically Bird. You know, with things. And it shows. Because there's a pattern with this. Notice how this season 3, every time when this man battles, it ends in a draw. He draw it with Burn this season. He draw it with Tanka. And he draw it with 8. Even with the battle that they had against Persona, like, it was a given that 3, 4, 5, and 8, they tried so hard to get the love and attention from Zero, but it wasn't enough at the end of the day. Like, they defeated Persona, and then they just got bodied by, like, Zoniac showing up. But it's a given. Like, if you notice the pattern, you know what I'm talking about. They're specifically hyping up Bird's character development in a major way with this, and it's gonna be crazy, man. Like, it's gonna get to that point where it's gonna be like that, to where the point, like, he is hyping them up, like, even with Bird, and, like, holy shit. But it gets to where that point where it's like that. So, you know, where he's sitting down and acknowledging these bladers and stuff. But I think it's gonna be like that. If X goes down to this dark side, who's gonna stop it? And it's gonna be Bird. I think it's gonna be Bird that's gonna take him down, because nobody is gonna defeat this man X. When this man's power is going rogue, when this man goes to the dark side, no one can take him down. This man's undefeated, man. The only blader I can see, maybe Chrome, but I think X will probably just wreck Chrome, to be honest with y'all. So no one can take them down because he's basically undefeated at this point. Like, holy shit. And who's gonna save him? And there's one possible candidate, and it's Bird KAZAMI. Making him saving X, getting his full out win, the official win, is fucking Bird. Now, there's other turns to this. There's two other turns to this. Either Bird's gonna save X, because I think that's how it's gonna go. And then that ultimate build-up between Zero, because they got to get through Zero. So it's either going to be X, once Bird saves X, they working together to stop Zero, or X is going to do him by himself. I think it'll be cool if they work together and stop Zero themselves, because that's so fucking dope, dude. You know, like, it'll be dope, you know. But that's just the way I see it. That's my theory, and yeah, it took me 30 minutes to do this. Yeah, and you talk about, and I'm going to say this before, you talk about a jaw-dropping moment, yeah, you talk about, because when this man gets his first win, you already know, like, jaws are going to drop all across the world. We're going to shit our fucking pants in a major way. Like, I'm telling y'all, man, I tell y'all this from the jump, when this man gets his first win, holy fucking shit, and they're definitely hyping him, his character development in a major fucking way. In a major way with things, but yeah, but that's just how I see it ending. Either Bird's gonna take down Zero or Bird's gonna take down X, one of the two. But they're hyping up this man in a major win. But yeah, but I try to say everything with this. I hope said everything. Here's Kimbo's video, so go check it out. I know he explained a lot of stuff that I didn't and stuff, but yeah. But this is going to do it for this epic theory. Oh my god. Ah, man. I think I choked on a bug or something. I don't know. It happens. But yeah. Now let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to smash that down below. Let me know how I did. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for some epic content, because I will be able to ring that bell. Crab Shades 2 out of 5 whenever I upload a video, you guys. But anyways, guys, till next time, it is your boy Kimbo signing off. See you later. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, stay awesome and go shoot. Don't let it rip. I'm about here, man. You talk about Bird, man. You know, like, you gotta hype up this man. Like, come on. You know, you gotta give him his motherfucking flowers, damn it.